welcome to Ready for Love Radio. This is your host and love coach, Nikki Lee, and I have got a good friend back with me today, and his name is Paul Bagge, and quite a few of my Facebook friends actually are connected to Paul between his profile page and his business page. And if you've listened to the show, you've probably heard us talk before. But it's always fun, always fun to have a conversation with Paul. So we are going to talk about, let me say, the show idea was inspired by a picture that he shared on his Facebook page, and it's a really cool quote. It says, "Your body is an instrument for loving. Fine-tuning your instrument warms you for the symphony of harmonies that you play with another." I love that. Absolutely love that. So I said, I've got to talk about this, and Paul is the one I want to talk to. So, Paul, it's awesome to have you with me today.
Well, it's always great to be here with you. Thank you for having me back.
Well, yeah, we always share such fun conversations.
Have fun conversations wherever I go.
Got to do it, got to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, gracious. So for the people that aren't familiar with you, and shame on them if they're not, you want to tell the audience just a little bit about what you do, which I think will help explain why you're the person for this conversation.
Okay. Well, for the past 20-plus years, I've been a sex and intimacy coach. I'm also a sensual sexual body worker. What that means is I work with sexual energy. I do it hands-on via massage, and I also do internal massage to create whatever type of change or goal that my particular client at the time is looking for. I'm also a nationally certified massage therapist and an ordained minister.
See, just such a variety. Oh, I've learned that it's fun to work in a variety of different sorts of things, and I can't imagine not doing that. I really can't.
No, I draw experience from many different avenues of my life and my studies, and it all comes together, and it seems to be the perfect collection for what it is that I do and what it is that it seems my clients need from me. So it works out perfectly.
Isn't it awesome when your current experiences and past experiences and all of that works together, and especially when you're helping a client or putting together like a presentation or a class or something, and it just all of those things come together. It's so cool the way that works.
It is. It's beautiful because a lot of times I teach workshops, and I've done some college speaking tours, and when there's a subject that's given to me, it's like, okay, I'm studying because I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about, want to put my thoughts forth correctly. And it's always nice when I don't have to do that studying because I just got something to draw from right in the back of my mind. And it usually ends up relating a whole lot better, too.
Right.
Yeah.
It definitely does. Well, see that, and when I started freelance writing full-time originally, I always made sure that I picked projects that were about topics that I already knew inside and out. It makes it a whole lot easier.
That's cheating.
No, that's very smart. Smart and strategic.
Yes, it is. It's not cheating.
It's just putting a new spin on old information. Come on now. Oh, gracious. Well, now, yesterday when I asked you what you were thinking, as far as the message of that quote, and I liked your answer, and it was about fine-tuning through deep exploration of self, honing sexual skills, and health in general. So I like all of those things. So we're going to kind of focus on finding what truly pleases each person and then perfecting the skill set you need in order to have that pleasure. Right?
Right. Well, number one, we should actually give credit to the person who wrote that quote. That was Caroline Muir, and she is a Tantra educator, teacher. She's got quite a few books out there. The one that I believe that quote came from is called Tantra Goddess.
Yes, it was.
Yes. I love that quote. That's why I posted it, and I'm glad you picked it up, and we're having this conversation now. The first thing that popped into my mind when I read it was, actually the first word that popped into my mind was maintenance, as far as keeping your body healthy and ready. But once I gave it like another 2 seconds, the other things started to flow. Like, okay, well, you can maintain your body, but does that mean you're ready? And it's like, no, there's so many other things that go into it. When that quote specifically talked about your body as an instrument in being harmonious in lovemaking with a partner. Now, if you're a musician, you're playing an instrument, don't you always practice to be the best possible musician you can be?
Of course.
Of course. So if you're using your body as an instrument for lovemaking, wouldn't you want to be the best lovemaker you could be?
Very true. Very true.
Okay. Yes. Well, that's the way I picked it up. So what does that mean? Well, basically, to me, that means that you know your body, you know what makes you feel good, you know how to make others feel good with your body, you're aware of your senses, you're aware of your partner's senses, you're using your body as a tool and keeping that tool sharpened, honed to perfection, ready for that event that it was made for. And in this case, we're talking about lovemaking sessions.
Oh, I like that. Okay. That's good.
And maybe a little simplified and not so esoteric sounding, but...
Well, but it makes sense, and it's a good starting point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and learning to use your entire body, not just a couple of parts of your body, but learning to use your entire body to make your partner, to make pleasure for yourself and for your partner also. Sure.
I mean, we should know our bodies better than anyone else. So if that is the case, then we do know what makes us feel good. So we put ourselves in position so that we can have those feelings, so that we can get all out of this experience that we should be. So what does that mean? Well, it means you really got to know yourself. How do you know yourself? Self-exploration. You need to find out what makes you feel good. You need to find out what kind of things turn you on. And then, you also need to find out, to be there for the other partner, of course, what kind of things your body can do that could possibly turn them on. And expand upon that and keep searching and learning about yourself and growing in the process.
So what kind of suggestions can we offer to people that don't really understand? I mean, they may know a couple of things that they really enjoy, but if their partner were to say, tell me what you want and need from me, they just don't have an answer for it. So is there some suggestions we can give people to help them to get a better handle on that?
Well, sure. And number one, there's a lot of different reasons why you may not have an answer for that. And we've talked about this before. I know that, society, culture, religion, parents, whatever, they all place certain expectations on you and teach you what they think you're supposed to be, or what, dress you the way they think you're supposed to dress, do what they think you're supposed to do. So a lot of times that whole self-exploration thing never even comes into play because you're told not to, or you're made to feel shamed if you do. So when your lover turns around and asks you, well, what makes you feel good, and you sit there and you really have nothing to draw from because you haven't been experimenting or explorative with your own body, then that's not going to help any at all. So you do need to take the time to go inside and see what makes you feel good. What I often do in my workshops is I take them on a guided meditation. And, all right, this is one I did, so I'll just use this as an example. I brought them into the woods. made them picture that they were lying totally naked in a stream that was only about 4 inches deep. The fact that the water was only about 4 inches deep meant that it kind of caused a line right across the middle of the body from front to back. So you had sensations of cool and wet on one side and hot and dry on the other. And then I asked them to take a look at how that made different parts of their body feel. And now, especially in the genital area, if you've got half hanging out of the water and half in the water, there's going to be different sensations. It could be pleasurable. They may not be so pleasurable, but either way, there's something to be experienced, and you can gain knowledge. That example was a meditation I did. But I'd say to pay attention to your fantasies would be one thing. Because your fantasies are your subconscious, and they're kind of echoing your desires. They're almost a mirror image of what's going on inside you that you don't even realize. So if you pay attention to your fantasies, you might get a glimpse of certain things that could possibly be a turn-on for you. No, I don't mean, now let's say you have a fantasy of being, again, just off the top of my head, you've got a fantasy of being tied up and being a submissive, okay? And that's all fine and good. If that's what you're into, that's great. But this doesn't mean that's necessarily that. That's just telling you, if you had that dream, it just means start taking a closer look at it, that maybe there are certain aspects of it that might seem appealing. I mean, I wouldn't go right out and just try that, because it could be it could be harmful. It's not if it's not what you wanted, or it could shock you or anything else. But to take things slow and just start paying attention to things that you don't normally do, those will give you clues into your inner sensuality, your true sensuality, and how you really feel, as opposed to the way society tells you to feel.
You know, I'm thinking, too, that you have to give yourself permission to do this.
Well, yes, absolutely, because, again, society tells you that you don't have permission to do that that's bad, it's evil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, because you kind of like, when you do certain things, you have to be ready to take that first step. You've got to be to the point where you either understand that you want something to change or you want something to improve, and, the person's got to be ready to tackle these kind of things. And the same thing, you've got to say, this is something I want to do. I deserve the pleasure in my life, and I give myself permission to start exploring these avenues I may not have tapped into before.
Right, and they can even be subtle little things that you never realize. Like, for instance, we'll say, I'll use women wearing a short skirt on a breezy day. Okay, maybe you never really noticed because it was too much on your mind, or you were preoccupied with something else, like how that breeze feels blowing up your inner thigh. That could be quite erotic for some people if they took that in their head and started going with it, imagining where this breeze could take them, imagining where this feeling can take them. Things like that, the subtle little things, it could be as simple as getting out of the shower and your water dripping off your nipples. Something you may have never noticed before, but you finally started to take a look at it, and there might be something there. There may be a feeling attached to that is pleasurable that you might want to expand on. But you don't know until you do start looking. True.
And just being aware of what's going on, what's happening around you, how it feels. And last week we were talking about sensate focus, and not rushing to orgasm, but, experiencing every moment and feeling, each other, yourself and your partner, and just letting yourself be taken away in that moment. It can be pretty cool.
We are here on this planet to experience. That's what we're here for, to experience things, to live life. Now, a huge part of that life is pleasure. Our human bodies, and again, I've done this with you before, we are built for pleasure. the clitoris alone, 8,000 nerve endings that are there for one purpose and one purpose only, make you feel good. If that's all in place for pleasure, then pleasure essentially becomes our birthright, that we're here to feel pleasure. So it then becomes your choice. Do you want to enhance this? Do you want to build on it? Or do you want to just kind of leave it off to the side and say, yeah, okay, that's great, but I got other things I got to do? Yeah. It's your body. It's your experience here. And if you're sharing it with a partner, you're married, you're in, a coupled relationship, then why wouldn't you want to share it with them?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Very true. Okay, now what if a person wants, this is a tad bit off topic, but not much. What if a person wants to have a better understanding of the things that give their partner pleasure? How are some ways, non-confrontational and non-judgmental ways, that they can start that conversation? You know me, I'm big into conversation and communication. So what are some ways that they can, because sometimes you just need to kind of give each other permission to have the conversation. So how can they get that started?
Okay. Well, yeah, communication is key in any relationship, whether it be between you, your spouse, lover, or at work, or with your neighbor. It doesn't matter. It's very important. To get that conversation going, assuming that you have a nice communicative relationship, the easiest way is just to say, I've been thinking I might like to try this. And just, even say to your partner, keep an open mind about something, because it could be something that's out of their normal realm of thinking, or something their mind wouldn't even go to. But if it's something that could please you, then, again, hopefully if you have a nice communicative relationship, they're going to want to listen to you. But if it's something you might be a little shy asking, you could always say, hey, I had a dream, so it was subconscious, and that way you kind of rid yourself of responsibility a little bit, because it happened while you were sleeping. It's not your fault. But you could say, I had a dream, and there were certain aspects about it that I liked. Do you think we could try it? And actually, women are famous for this. You say, I was reading a magazine, and I read this article, or I was watching TV, and this situation happened. And can we try this? I know in many of my previous relationships, that was the case, where they just say, I read this. Can we try it? And actually, I get that from clients a lot, too. It's like, I read this. Is this something that we can do? Will this help? And be like, yeah, well, let me see the article, number one, and then we take it from there. So communication is the key in anything, as we all know.
Definitely.
But as long as, if you're in a safe relationship anyway, you're not being abused, you're not being shamed or made to feel like you are somehow not an equal, then it shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, this is 2016 now. There's computers, everything is at your fingertips all over the planet. So it's not like we're living in a society where you can't get your hands on this material to know these things are out there. It's not that completely abstract anymore. Now, most of what used to be taboo and considered fringe or left field, it's kind of in your face now anyway. So, I think it should be a lot easier now in 2016 than it would have been, say, back in 1980 to have conversations like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was delivering home in 1980. Trust me, that was not the conversation going on.
Hey, what was that? I was born in 1967, so it was about 1972 that I found Hustler and Penthouse between my parents' mattress and box spring, and tried to figure out very briefly what that was all about. And yeah, so it's a totally different day and age now.
It is. It is, and I know that your website and my website have plenty of information for people. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hey,
I mean, and go ahead.
Well, speaking of which, do you want to give while I'm thinking about it, you want to give your Facebook page and your website address?
Oh, sure. Well, the Facebook page is called Ecstatic Sensations, and the website is simply www.ecstaticsensations.com. Very simple.
It's good to make it easy for people to find us. So.
It's kind of what we rely on.
Oh, no doubt. I've talked to people in the past doing promotional stuff, and they're like, well, I hid my contact information. Why? What's the point? Make it easy for people to find things. But that's a whole other. I actually have done other shows about that on my show I used to have. Oh, gracious. Okay, so we were talking also about honing sexual skills. And we were talking about people reading and whatever the blog or the website or whatever it may be. Are there any? Let me see if I can word this. It's forming in my brain. Are there any things that are unusual people may not have thought about? Because there's certain things that always come to mind when you're thinking about pleasure for either ourselves or for a partner. But can you think of any unusual kind of things that people may not think about that they might want to try? And I'm thinking you've got a background. You probably have some really interesting conversations that come up with clients and that sort of thing that you might want to share.
You just sent my head in 400 different directions at the same time. It's like that moment where there's somebody does something and you get like 50 jokes that all come into your head at the same time and you don't know what to say.
Right.
Yeah, you just did that to me with that question. All right, say it one more time now that I've calmed down.
Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm thinking there's normal things we always think about when you're thinking about, being with your partner and maybe foreplay or kissing or whatever. So there's just certain things that are just kind of automatic, okay? But what are some unusual tips that we might could share for people to make a better connection with their partner or to start learning more about their partner?
Really, the simplest and easiest way I can explain this, which would be the best and give you more possibilities than anything else, would be to simply pay attention. Pay attention to your partner. Good. If you're lying there, say you're stroking them very lightly, pay attention to what sends shivers. Pay attention to the little faces that he or she is making. They'll let you know if they like it or if they want you to keep doing more. Pay attention to the body. If you're doing something that, let's say, you think should be turning the person on, but their body is still all kind of like, tense and what is this, then it's not something you want to keep doing. But if you're doing something and you can feel this. If you're in that moment, you can feel this. This is not something I have to try and teach. You can feel that person's body melt. You can feel their breath getting heavier. You can watch their chest and see them starting to move. And all those indicators right there are really all you need. From that, you can actually bring things into it if you want to start playing with toys or try different sensations like ice cubes. Do it, but go slow and just pay attention. The body of your lover will tell you everything you need to know without me having to say anything.
It's true. Well, and that's things that I've brought up in shows before is, pay attention to the effect you're having on the person and how they're reacting, not necessarily just what they're saying, because that's only going to give you part of the story. So I like that that was not prompted to the audience. He just came up with that. But like I said, watch how they're reacting, and there again, be aware. Be aware of their reactions, and like you said, you're going to know if they like something or not. That's usually pretty clear.
And basically the best thing you can do for your lovemaking relationship or your relationship in general is just to be present for your partner.
Yeah.
To be in that moment with them, whatever it be, whether it be you're laying down trying to make love or, they're telling you about their day or something that's bothering them. Just to be present is the biggest thing you can ever do for your partner.
Very true. Well, and then in return, they'll be present for you when you need them to be. So
Absolutely.
And if not, then that's a whole other.
And you need a new partner.
Well, there you go.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, if that's not there, and there's no desire for that to be there, then you're really not getting what you should be out of that relationship. And it would be time to start thinking about either trying to fix it or finding another.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion.
Well, I did a show a couple weeks ago about sexless marriage, and that doesn't mean absolutely no sex in some instances. It just means very little, or you just don't have the physical, emotional, mental, connection with one another, So, not saying that the only important thing in a relationship is sex, but it is something. I mean, you need that connection with your partner. So
the intimacy.
Yes.
The intimacy needs to be there. It could be in many different ways, but that intimacy still needs to be there.
Very true. Well, we were even talking about, even if there's, a hopefully limited time period where maybe there's an illness or something else that's causing you not to want a normal sexual relationship for a while, you still need to maintain that intimacy with one another to keep the connection between the two of you. So
you do, but and this is my part where I take off.
I knew it.
You also, and this goes back to our post, my post and what we were talking about today, if you're not getting it from somewhere else, you still need to be getting it. Meaning, if you're not having sex with your partner for some reason, whatever it be, could be health reasons, could be, they're away for whatever reason, you still need to be taking care of yourself. There's the maintenance part I was talking about. We are sensual, sexual creatures. That's the way we're born. It's just the way it is. It is very important to keep that sexual energy flowing, to keep it flowing through our systems. Whether you want to call it ki, chi, prana, life force energy, whatever it is, it's running through us. And it needs to have a clear channel to flow. Through sex, through keeping that energy going, we give it that free channel to keep moving and vitalize us and revitalize us all the time. So, self-love can be just as important. Well, self-love is probably even more important than love from somebody else. But in a relationship, when you're not getting it for one reason, self-love becomes that much more important to make sure that you are being loved from somewhere. And that can also be considered maintenance and can be considered keeping that body honed for that symphony when it does happen.
Isn't it interesting how I say something that sparks an idea for you and you say something that sparks an idea for me?
I thought that's why we did this.
I think it is. Like I said, audience, we didn't plan that. It just kind of worked that way. Oh, gracious. Okay. So what is, and I believe you just had a conversation about this before you got back to the phone, what is sexual energy for people that don't really understand that phrase?
Oh, okay. Okay, well, again, like I just said a second ago, whether you want to call it ki, which is, I believe, Korean, I think chi is Chinese, prana would be Indian, it's life force energy. It's the same energy that created the earth. Okay, I know it's going to sound very hippie, very new agey, very spiritual, but it's true. That energy courses through us. The simplest and most easy example I can give for anybody to understand energy is this. You walk into a room. There was just an argument in that room. The air feels tense. It feels heavy. That is energy. That may not be good energy because there was an argument just in that room, but that is energy. Okay, so that is one form of energy. The other form is what we carry inside of us. Yoga. Yoga works to build this energy, to help purify it, to help strengthen it through breathing, through muscle movement, through poses. So we have this thing called sexual energy. It flows through us all the time. And we have these other things called chakras, which are the 7 major energy centers in our body, which I won't get into now. That's a whole other class. But the energy moves up and down through these energy centers. From your base, which is considered your base, is where between your perineum and your pubic bone, and it moves all the way up through what is called your crown, and that's the top of your head. So basically it flows through your entire torso. This flow of energy is essentially, well, if we take the sexual part off of it and just call it energy, that's what Chinese medicine is based on, these meridians, these energy channels. So let's put sexual back in front of it. That sexual energy moving through these energy channels keeps it clean, keeps it vital, keeps it healthy, keeps it strong. Sexual energy also has a way of being able to be picked up from other people. Not like a cold or anything, however, but you can sense it. Just like you walk into that room and you can sense energy, you walk next to somebody and you can sense somebody who is very comfortable in their sexuality because they're going to have a confidence to them, they're going to have an attitude to them. You could also pick up on somebody who's not real comfortable with their sexuality or their sexual energy. They're kind of like, you get a feeling of being standoffish, like they're being a little standoffish or something, and they may not even realize they're doing it. It's their sexual energy. Sexual energy is also famous throughout the ancient teachings of Taoism, Buddhism, of being our life force and the things we can do with it. It can be used for healing. It can be used for empowerment. It can be used for, you could channel it throughout your body to different areas where you may need some help. Say you've got an organ that's damaged or something, you can focus this energy there and use it for healing. Sexual energy itself, well, it's basically what I've based my whole professional career on, but it's just so vital to us in every way, and it's something that you're never taught.
Right.
Let me just put it that way.
Very true. Well, see, that's why I knew you were the person to ask.
Hey, thank you.
Well, can it? And this may be a very amateurish way to illustrate it, but can that also be kind of the only word I can think of is charge that you can feel when you're with somebody that you really, really like, and or love, depends on the situation and the person. But you just sometimes you're with somebody and you just feel so good, and it can just be being in the same place, talking, even heaven forbid fully clothed, but just
heaven forbid
just that connects, and you feel that with just certain people.
Well, yeah, like I just said, if you feel that person who's confident, who is happy with their sexuality, who's living in that energy and freely expressing it, they're going to be a great person to be around. They're going to make you smile. They're going to make your energy feel good. That becomes a huge win-win for everybody. But now, again, the opposite end of the spectrum, if you get next to somebody or you're with somebody that their sexual energy isn't flowing correctly, or it's for some reason suppressed, or maybe even repressed to a certain extent, then you're not going to have that same good feeling. They're not going to be giving out the feel-good, smiley type of, very approachable type of energy. So it may make you feel different. I mean, we're all, to some extent, products of our environment. Well, that becomes the same thing with our personal environment, our personal space that we hold around another. Right. We all have this energy coursing through us, so therefore we all have a little energy field that goes with it. So it's something you can project. I'm famous for always making people smile, and that a lot of that comes from my sexuality, my comfortability in it, and the way I freely express it. So I make people happy wherever I go. The opposite end of the spectrum could also be true. If I wasn't the way I am, I could be walking around and nobody wants to be near me. And, yeah, that would be terrible.
Right.
Then we wouldn't be having these phone calls. Damn.
See, we just wouldn't be able to share so many cool things with people.
I got to keep an eye on this now.
Well, you know what? I have a feeling people have said that about both of us, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That's, you know what? Their problem, not mine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I got you.
So, something that I've actually wanted to talk to you before, and we haven't really delved into, and I think it actually can be tied to what we're talking about today, is some of the work you do is helping people with traumas that they've had in their lives. And
right.
It seems, and from some of my experiences, it's been that if there has been something traumatic that's happened in your life, it can really screw up how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your sexuality, how you feel about being with other people to a large degree. So, and I know that a person having an appointment with you and being worked over would definitely be the best possible solution, and I plan to do that one of these days. But in the meantime, you just got to be closer. But,
yeah.
In the meantime, is there a way that we can help people that may have had past traumas that they maybe haven't dealt with or need to deal with, that can help them with what we're talking about today?
All right. That covers a huge spectrum of things. But, all right. Okay. Well, number one, issues of trauma always affect us on an energetic level. I mean, we are, as a human, we are a holistic body, mind, and spirit. We're not just physical. We're not just emotional. We're not just spiritual. It's all inclusive. So these types of traumas do affect us on every level. Now, you can go to a psychiatrist or a counselor. You can work it out that way, and that'll help your head. You can, if there's physical damage from this type of trauma, then you can go to a doctor and obviously work it out that way. And you could even, if it's a spiritual nature, you can go and talk to a pastoral counselor or whoever and work it out that way. However, the type of work that I do works on all three levels at once. So it does address all of these things. There is literally a myriad of different symptoms you could be going through as a result of trauma. Self-esteem being one of the most prominent, but then again, there's a huge amount of other things that could happen that just affect your overall well-being. But okay, since we mentioned self-esteem, when things like that happen to you, you want to know why. Did you do something wrong? Is there something bad about you? Are you the reason that this happened? And sadly, in today's society, generally that's what you're told. Even though it's not true, that's what you're told.
Right.
First thing you got to do is realize that this is about you, number one. It's not about anything anybody else has to say. It's about you, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about what happened, and where you want to go from there. Because then it's going to be up to you to go out and seek the help. Nobody can do it for you. You have to do it. Even the work that I do, I have a lot of people, they call me a sexual healer. I say, no, I am not a healer. What I do is I work with my client, and we work together to achieve our results. It's not me doing something else to somebody. No, it's all you. So, that being said, the bookstores are full of self-help books. You can go online and find thousands of self-help videos. You can get on the internet and search for thousands of different gurus or healers or whatever. But basically, it's really just going to boil down to you making a decision for yourself that you're tired of feeling the way you are, and that whatever happened when that trauma occurred, you want to get past it and move forward. Once you actually make that decision, you can start taking a look at what different things you think were affected. Like if you know you used to be a happy, jolly person all the time, and you used to like to go out to the malls or do whatever, and now suddenly you don't, well, then you know, okay, then maybe I have an issue around being around people now. Maybe I don't feel safe now. Well, that gives you a starting point where you can start doing or looking to things to address that, to get you back to where you were before. It's a huge, huge spectrum to just come right out and say, okay, you should start doing this, because it affects everybody differently. But really what it comes down to is just making that decision to actually start doing something and to start seeking. That's square one.
And if you start reaching out for help, reach out to non-judgmental people that are actually going to help you, not cause more problems.
Well, yeah, because, again, the way society is today, it puts stigmas on everything, and you're told that things are your fault when they're not your fault. You know, now the huge thing that's been in politics and everything is the rape culture. And, because you dressed that way, then you must have been looking for it. Or there was some idiot politician who said that the body, what did he say? That the body can't get pregnant during rape, that somehow it shuts down that process. Some ridiculous Republican candidate from somewhere, I can't remember. But,
well, people all that, saying things, shouldn't talk about them. That's simple.
Well, you don't listen to other people. Listen to yourself as far as that type of judgment goes. I mean, you don't need any of it. You know what you're feeling already. You may be feeling shame from something your parents told you, when you were 15, and now you're 40 and you're trying to deal with this. You don't need to hear any more of that garbage. So, you want to look inside, and that should give you a clue as to where you need to start the work. And then, of course, if you're going to search for somebody, make sure they are very reputable. Because in a situation of self-esteem, that becomes an area where it's very easy for somebody to take advantage of you. If you know that you need to be told that you're great, that you're beautiful, that you're an incredible person, and somebody starts telling you the things you want to hear, there are people out there who are skilled at taking advantage of you in that situation. So always make sure that you double check, if at all possible, get references from anybody that you go to work with. It's very, very, very important. Very
true. I hadn't thought about this in ages, but years ago we had a holistic health fair here locally, which just having one of those here was kind of leaving you speechless. But small towns, they're great, aren't they? But one of the people that was there, well, I was there with my boss. We actually had a booth set up, and we're talking to people too. But then I was talking to somebody else, and they were, I don't remember the specifics of the title of what he did, but it was about, relaxing, meditating, deep breathing to get yourself to a more calm, relaxed kind of state. And I mean, my life is just insane, so anything calming is a good idea for me. And he's, well, I'm having this class in my office, and you're more than welcome to join us, no charge, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And I hemmed and hawed, no, and I finally decided to go. Well, This is going to surprise you immensely, I'm sure, but there was nobody else there for the class when I got there. And I'm like, give me a minute. Anyway, still just stuff going. Okay, right. So everybody called in at the last second. Sure, right. But I did learn some interesting things. But to say that I was not able to relax like I wanted to, definitely an understatement. But it's amazing the things people will do to take advantage of you.
Whenever you're going to do any work on that type of an intimate nature, or of a place where you are, we'll say, vulnerable at the moment,
right?
It's very, very important to be in a safe, sacred, loving, nurturing space. And it's also very important to be with somebody who is coming from an intention of being nurturing, loving, caring, safe, sacred. Yes.
Well, and the blatantly lying to me really was not a good idea. If it had been, I normally do this in individual sessions, then I could have made an educated, decision on what to do. But it's going to be a class setting, and then boom, no, it's not going to be. Come on. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that happens in every profession too, though. So
it does.
Not just us.
I don't like being vulnerable in that kind of way. I don't deal with vulnerable very well at all, but especially not like that.
Well, it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage for somebody to start working on that dark stuff, to bring it up again, because for whatever reason it was to begin with, you tucked it away. Either you couldn't deal with it, you didn't want to deal with it, or it was too scary to deal with, so you tucked it away. And now we're talking about bringing it back up and, to some extent, reliving it again. And
right.
It's a very scary thing. So it takes a lot of courage to want to get past that type of trauma.
Well, what I found in my case is I don't know what triggered it, but after years, I started having nightmares and reliving every moment, every single night. And I'm like, I don't know why this has started up again, but this something's got to stop it. And I had not told more than about one or two people before that. And then what I did is, because I couldn't, I know my family. I love my family, but I know them, and they are very much the judgmental, your fault kind of people, especially when they don't agree with what you do and this kind of thing. But what I did is I actually wrote a letter, because I couldn't do it face-to-face, but I said, I've got to get it out, and I kind of need to know that they know, and maybe that'll help. So I wrote everything out, and I was getting ready to leave for the day, and I said, I need you to read this, and I would appreciate support. Not expecting any, but, I would appreciate it. But all I need you to do is confirm to me that you've read it, and that's all I need. And they called me about an hour later and didn't offer much support, which I didn't expect. But then, from that time on, I have not really had to deal with the whole dreaming flashback kind of thing with it at all, which has been wonderful.
Triggers are caused for hundreds and hundreds of different reasons, and in any type of trauma. It could just be a car accident we're talking about, not necessarily sexual trauma, but there's triggers there. You turn, you look quick, and there's a bus there. It's like, oh, shit, it triggered you back to something else. Right. So, but even that little thing you did of writing that letter, right, you knew you weren't going to get the support out of it or anything like that. That still can be very empowering to not be hiding anymore. Because when you do have issues of self-esteem or you do have issues of trauma, either you're made to feel like you have to hide because of the stigmas that are attached to everything, or you feel like there's something wrong with you and you want to hide. Right. Those things right there, writing that letter, again, not expecting any support, but still putting it out there, that's very empowering. Right. You took the power back right there. You were in control of that. That was something you had control of. And in those situations, that's a big deal. Yep. When something that has been done to you that you had absolutely no control over and has caused so much harm, for you to take back one little thing, that's great. And then if you could actually continue and pick up one more little thing and then one more little thing, they start to build. And that's very empowering. And that creates a lot of confidence so that you can move forward and do more work. And then, by the time you realize it, you're actually on your way to getting exactly what you want out of this thing, to get past these traumas, to move past them, to get back on with your life.
That's it. Well, see, I hadn't thought about empowering, but it really was. Like I said, it worked so well for me. That's why I wanted to share that, because you've got to take the nerve to hand it to the person and say, look, I need you to read this. But it's a whole lot easier than pouring your heart out to them in person. It really is. And something about him helps too. So
I've known women who are second-degree black belts who have had traumas like that happen to them, sexually based traumas. And, then they spend the next couple of years kicking themselves, saying, I should have been able to do this. I should have been able to do that. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Stop that. Stop second-guessing everything. It's already happened. Now it's time to pick up and move on. You were totally out of control. I mean, out of control of the situation. Whether you think you should have been in control or not, that's a different story. We're not talking about that. We're talking about now and what you can be in control of at this moment. And when you can do that and you can make those little accomplishments, that puts you back in control.
That's it. You got to take the control back.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm all about empowering ourselves. So, very true. All right. Well, see, for some reason it seems helpful to share this kind of stuff. And the thing is, it helps me, and I hope that it helps the audience too. So as far as I'm glad we got off on that. Like I said, I think it does work into it because I know that those experiences can hold us back from being able to feel comfortable and to feel good about ourselves and our bodies and even sometimes sex in general, so all useful information. And like I said, it's something I'd wanted to mention with you anyway. So with the original topic of understanding ourselves and developing a skill set and that sort of thing, is there any points that we missed that we need to share with the audience? Okay.
I really think it really just comes back down to what I said before as far as being present with your lover. And for that matter, being present with yourself. Pay attention to the little things. They will tell you so much more than if you go buy a book that tells you, okay, stroke her this way and she's going to love it. Well, you don't know that. Everybody's different. Pay attention. That'll tell you.
People are even different from time to time. What we enjoy one time may not be exactly the same the next time.
Absolutely.
So even if your partner's loved something in the past, still be aware and pay attention, and maybe you need to shake it up a little bit next time.
Right. You can try little things, variations in speed of positions or variations in positions. It doesn't have to be super dramatic. You can try just little things and see where they take you, and then just like with the accomplishments, build on that and see where that brings you.
That's right. And it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. That's just not what the person needs at that moment. So, and honestly, isn't a big chunk of the fun learning and discovering all these things about our partners? Come on.
Oh, hell yeah. When you're young, it's probably not that way. There's more of the instant gratification thing when you're young. But yeah, as you get older and you start caring more about yourself and caring more about your partner, then that is the fun, the exploration, the discovery.
Definitely. Always something new to learn. You just got to be open to learning and open to exploring. So, very good.
Never stop learning.
This is true about ourselves and about anything else too. So,
right.
That's it. I can't imagine people that don't want to learn and explore. I can't even imagine. But I think I'm glad that I'm like that. So.
Well, it happens. I have clients that get stuck in a rut. What is it? Empty nest syndrome, for one. You get stuck in certain ways. You get stuck in certain things, and just okay, I'm satisfied, whatever, and don't put any effort into trying to make it better.
Yeah, better. Well, this is just how it's going to have to be. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be like that.
Exactly.
But thank goodness there are options. You just got to be willing to, make it happen and take the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Paul, I appreciate very much that you were on the call with me today, so we can share this. And like I said, I saw that picture and I'm like, that's got to be a show. There's got to be a show in that picture.
And poof, there it is.
See, you never know what I'm going to see that's going to spark an idea.
Well, all you got to do is get a hold of me, and we'll put a show together.
There you go. It's easy to talk for an hour about things.
Yes, it is.
All right, listeners, and there will be a replay of the show on my website, lovecoachjourney.com, and I'm actually going to, in the promotional image, is also it will include the image that I got this idea from, and I've gotten lots of cool feedback on that image. So
cool.
It will be very, very easy to spot, a very sensual picture. Let's leave it at that. So,
that works.
And not even Facebook can argue, because there is nothing showing that they don't think it should be. So, Paul, I appreciate you being with me today. And listeners, I'll see you next time on Ready for Love Radio.